Lee, I've missed you. This is Bill Shatner. Oh.
There you go.
That's very rubbery.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James and Chris Dale.
Lee Sullivan's Twitter profile describes him as comic strip and concept artist, occasional rock saxophonist, show-off. All those make him perfect as a guest for the Gerry Anderson Podcast. He first joined us way back in Pod 4, but now he's here on the sofa to chat all things Anderson once again. It's Lee Sullivan! Yay! Hey! Hello, Lee Sullivan.
Hello, Jamie Anderson.
It's very nice to have you here.
Isn't it?
Can you remember last time you were on the Gerry Anderson Podcast?
I can't really remember this morning, but yes, I can remember that dim and distant time when I sort of revealed my olfactory fetishes.
Yes, you did. We were in a basement bar in a hotel in London.
Oh, that's funny.
And that was right at the very beginning of the Gerry Anderson Podcast. And here you are, 260-something episodes later. I can hardly believe it, but I'm very pleased you're back again. Lee, for anyone who doesn't know you, tell us who you are. And you're going to set yourself up here because we're going to make you do this very exciting format point we've got called super identification. And that's going to show us just how much of an Anderson fan you really are.
Oh.
So give us your Anderson credentials first, and then the pressure's on to perform.
Okay. My Anderson credentials, you say? Well, I, apart from being a fan from very early on, I have drawn about 4 or 5 years worth of Thunderbirds comic strip for Redan's magazine, and then subsequently done bits and pieces for you, which I think you are aware of.
Very.
Plus, more recently, the Fireball XL5 anthology story, which were very kind enough to let me write. Well,
Didn't have a choice, did I?
I didn't ask.
You just did it.
I just did it.
We'll definitely touch on your presumptive nature. But yes, you are a long-time fan. You've brought a box of props, which we'll get to later. But now it's time to test your knowledge. On the screen, you're going to see a sequence of very short clips. And you must, as you become aware of what they might be, shout out the title. I'm going to be keeping score, and we'll see if you beat last week's competitor, Ellie.
I'm going to be rumbled.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's watch the screen. Here is super identification.
Oh, that's Twizzle.
Very good start. He's off to the races.
Torchy, the wonderful, ghastly boy.
Yep.
Four Feather Falls. Oh, Supercar. Oh, and Fireball XL5. Stingray.
He's doing very well.
Thunderbirds.
Impressive.
Should have just got that, shouldn't I? The indestructible Captain Scarlet and Joe 90. This was, I've never really seen it, Secret Service.
He's 10 for 10.
UFO! Or UFO. It's Robert Vaughan with a blue dog in The Protectors. And Space 1999.
This is an emergency.
Terror Hawks.
I can't believe this.
Now this is Dick Spanner.
Yeah.
This is one for Richardson, isn't it? Space Precinct. This is one I don't know. Hardwick Hall. Harold's. This is New Captain Scarlet.
Oh. Wow. Lee Sullivan. Is that 18 out of 19 that you scored there?
I'm ashamed.
That is seriously impressive. Let me just get your scorecard and write the score upon you, if you don't mind.
On me?
Yes.
Oh.
This is quite impressive.
How lovely.
There is your score. Please do put that.
I wish I was taking this away with me because this is...
It's a lovely little Scott Tracy-esque version of Lee Sullivan with his score at 18. So it goes...
Ellie's score, you know, is completely good because she's much younger.
Absolutely. Ellie did very well, but you have rocketed into first place, which is incredibly impressive.
I intend to hold that for at least one podcast.
Well, that's definitely possible. Now, the one that you didn't get...
Yes, it's you see, I never saw it, and I've only just recently become aware of it, and I still don't know the name, so you'll have to fill me in.
It was Lavender Castle.
Lavender Castle, Hardwick Hall, that was close.
Was it?
Crichton Ward Manor.
No, it was Lavender Castle. So one for you to catch one, but 18 out of 19 is pretty good.
It's sign of a misspent youth.
Yeah, you did rather well. Now your Anderson experience goes back to the early days, as you showed, with a bunch of recognising Twizzle and Torchy and Four Feather Falls. So I think it's probably worthwhile us revisiting your earliest Anderson memory first.
Yeah, well, this was a bit tricky thinking about this because I actually remember Twizzle and Torchy and Supercar very clearly. I don't remember Four Feather Falls at all. I just have seen it since in the lovely colorisation version. It's marvellous. I'm going to want to watch a lot more of those. But the one thing that really, all of those things I liked, Supercar's explosive, breaking the sound barrier was fantastic. The sounds particularly stay in my head, and the songs. I had the plastic cars we've seen on the earlier Fab Live. But Fireball XL5 is the first episode I can actually remember part of, and that was... really etched into my mind in quite a traumatic way. For a long time, I thought that it was a robot approaching Robert, asking him who would like the first groove. Now, that was just a mishearing because I was a kid, but it actually was extremely terrifying to me. That's my misremembering of it. Yeah. Subsequently, in fact, last year, I realised it was in fact Plant Man from outer space. And he says, who is ready for the first, who wishes for the first dose, I think, which is very strange.
Well, should we find out exactly what he said?
Let's see what he said.
We've got the clip of your first memory. Let's hear it.
Oh, look.
And it is all my work. My work! Very pretty, I must say. Yes, but you see, the chloroform, my own creation, is unique. He's the only one. Now I want to make him some companions. That's where you come in. I knew that if I sent the lead to Earth, you would hardly be able to resist the temptation to come to Hedera. You see, you are far too inquisitive.
He's crazy. Plumb crazy.
It's horrible.
Not horrible, my dear Venus. You'll make a beautiful chloroform. Just one injection of hemochlorophyll formula, and then... But we must be careful not to give an overdose. That would never do.
Now, who is for the first dose?
And there's no innuendo possible about that particular clip.
I don't know why you'd even bring that up. Nothing I can see there. That's all weird. So just paint me a picture of young Lee. How old were we talking when you were sitting in front of this, mishearing it?
Fireball, I believe, is 62. I look over to my colleague Chris, 62. So I would have been, assuming that I'm remembering it from the first time around, which I think I am, I would have been 4.
Okay, that's really early. And just paint the picture of young 4-year-old Lee watching this. Are you, where are you? Are you sat cross-legged in front of the telly with anyone?
I would be sitting probably, yeah, we had a very tiny screen, I think, in those days. I believe, this is for the viewers, approximately that kind of size screen.
He's making a sort of...
About 9 inches or
I was
something.
going to say 8 or 9, so yeah, it's a very good estimate there.
Well, it's yeah. Moving on. Yes, so I would be sitting on the floor watching that and possibly drawing, because I was drawing all this stuff, scribbling over everything. Books, newspapers, wallpaper, carpets, and honing my art to be. And but just completely absorbed by it. I was a real telly kid. I just loved watching television, and nothing much has changed. But I would be, I was really obsessed. I know now that I love moments. There's a moment when Fireball is taking off where there's just a few sparks coming out of the back end of it. And I explained that to my auntie, my godmother at the time, and I think she must have thought I was completely around the bend. But I would say, yes, and now you'll see the sparks. There they go, you know. And so obsessively detailed memory in that respect.
Amazing. And that's clearly stuck with you in your future work.
It has, isn't it? And I have is a prop appropriate now?
As long as you describe the prop, I would love to see your props.
We are audio as well as video.
So Lee is currently unveiling his very nice collector's shoebox.
Shoebox, yes. My wife doesn't know I've got this at the moment, so it's the only thing to hand. What I have here, from the time, more or less, is now the aficionados will probably recognise this as the Kitmaster, the infamous Kitmaster kit. That was, I think you had to send away for it. It was probably 13 and sixpence or something. And my father dutifully made it for me because at 4 it would have been a horrible mess. And this is a revamped version of it. I completed all of this with the airbrushing and stuff on here. So Fireball XL5 has Fireball Junior, which detaches. It's got Steve and it's rather disappointingly Venus, as far as I was concerned. I wanted Robert in there, but you know, I've got used to it over the years. But this was used. There's a period in your childhood where you disregard childish things, and I played with this in the garden and kind of left it there. Now, 2 other children who lived next door apparently came round one day, found it. They were trespassing. You know, it's impossible to imagine now. And they used Fireball, the main body of Fireball, as a hammer.
Oh no!
And they struck and they struck. I don't know if they were hitting each other, but certainly it was enough to break all the fins off and crack the fuselage. And I then spent in my 20s, I think I managed to start putting it back together while I was working on weekend shifts at British Aerospace. I do apologise, British Aerospace. I did this on overtime. There you go. The other thing I've got here, which is related, while we're talking about Fireball, is are my little Cecil Coleman
tiny little puppets of Venus and Steve.
On strings, which are now hideously wrapped, totally untangleable.
They're absolutely hideous.
They are the most hideous representations of the characters. It's not so much the quality of the sculpt is not bad, but the hand painted. This was described as hand painted on the box. Yeah. Now Venus has been lying in the sun on one side, and Steve is Steve. Let's put it mildly, is wearing a very loud lipstick. The other thing that really worried me as a kid is that because of the puppet nature of these things, they didn't include any limbs. So you have this poor old little, absolutely almost vac form shrunked trousers and arms.
Empty dangling trousers.
Empty dangling trousers. They do make very nice kind of wind chimes.
I wouldn't go that far. I think you're reaching for a use of them there.
They also have very worryingly baby hands. Gosh. Which are...
I mean, these really are quite sinister looking.
They're horrible, but...
They're going to come to life.
Yeah, but I have a very soft spot for them because they were my first character dolls.
Are those actual ones, or have you rebought?
You have to spoil the magic of it, don't you? No. These are... I have repurchased these.
Okay.
Because the originals... basically, I took all their clothes off.
Okay, Lee, then moving on.
They're just torsos. It's appalling.
Yes, they just get worse. It's amazing how limited your choices were in terms of toys back then.
Yes.
And that you were happy with such ugly little devils as them.
Well, the Fireball was wonderful, but those particular things are ghastly. And there's a wonderful... I forgot to bring it along. There's a Jetmobile as well, which has Steve Zodiac and Zuni the Lazoon on the back. And Steve has got these extraordinary diamond eyes. And so he looks like a complete maniac sitting on his jetmobile.
I think he was a bit of a maniac, so that's only right. And I should just say to viewers, listeners at home, that Lee has the most incredible man cave you have ever seen. It is packed to the gills, floor to ceiling, and some stuff hanging from the ceiling, I think.
Well, yes, give it time.
With all sorts of toys and gizmos and kits and figures. It's absolutely amazing. And you let me play with your spinning top thing, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, the wonderful gyroscope. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It has a very great... I'll bring that next... In 200 or so episodes' time, I'll bring that in.
I look forward to it.
We can have a play with that, yeah.
Anyway, we should move on because our lovely Podstrons have been sending in questions for you.
Oh, bless.
And as you may be aware, we can pull those questions from this beautiful container.
You're going inside the mind of...
From the mind of Zelda herself. Yeah. Thank you. That's what we should have come up with last time.
I was aching to say it, but I wasn't here.
Lee, will you reach in and grab a question and read us out and let us know the first question from a Podstron? God, it really smells that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to get around to that later. Richard Goodborn, when was Lee's last toy sniffing session? Well, if you just wait a moment.
Oh, we can have one live.
Oh.
There you go.
That's very rubbery.
It is. There you go. There and then, Richard, was the last toy sniffing session for you.
Immediately the last one, but I did actually have a little go at Supercar for old time's sake before I came along here to see if it still got the magic. Because I would explain to anyone who didn't see the thing last time that it's from the it's a Supercar from the time. It was by Plaston. It's a vinyl Supercar, so that. And it has a kind of plug at the end, which is the nose cone. You take that off, and you can squeeze 1960s formed decaying plastic. It's a marvellous thing. Every night before bed.
Sounds weird, but lovely. Would you like to pick another question from the mind of Zelda?
I hope it's as disgusting as that. Jonathan Bell asks, I watched your interview with YouTube star Doctor Who Guide, and it was a very good interview. Thank you so much. If you could redesign a Doctor Who character, which one and what improvements would you like to make to it? Well, if I could redesign... Well, I kind of have a few times. I've redesigned Daleks and I've redesigned the Cyberman people. What would I like to have a go at? I'd quite like to have a go at redesigning the Ice Warriors, just to see what you would come up with, because I love the original things, and I'm the sort of person that sits there and says, "Oh, I shouldn't have redesigned that. It was better the original." But I love actually coming around to it, redesigning things, and to try and think about what you might bring to it now, and with fresh eyes and with old roomy eyes as well, what sort of changes you might make. Haven't a clue what I'd do with it, but there you are.
I'm sure you do a smashing job. Best combination though, the old nostalgic eyes and the new one. And you might be doing some redesigns for us later in the year, mightn't you? Anyway, let's not go too deeply into that.
Yes,
More from the mind of Zelda, please.
Yes. Okay. Martin Smith. Hi, Lee. As a rock saxophonist and big Roxy Music fan, which allegedly I am, what is your favourite Roxy Ferry song that you love playing? Well, I'm sure everyone's very excited to know this. Actually, the one I really love playing is Both Ends Burning, which sums up most of my life up to now, as I burn the midnight oil, currently on Daleks. Yeah, Both Ends Burning, I love playing that, and we used to have a little contest in the band. I was in the Roxy Music tribute band for 10 years, and the original guitarist of that, John Ozeroff, and I, we would sort of dueling guitar, saxophone, and I would try to play the longest notes I could without passing out on stage, which was good fun. So he would be doing, and I'd be going, for as long as I could hold them.
A man of many, many talents.
Oh yes, some of them I show the world. Oh, I'm delving into the mind again. Okay. Oh, another man. Anthony Zetner Is that right? Zehetner. Zehetner, okay. Lee, I loved your Berenice Summerfield stylised work. Okay. And would have loved to see you draw a cartoon. So many people have wanted me to draw a cartoon. I just keep giving them comics instead. Have you ever thought about producing or seeing an animated film of your work? Well, I've sort of done that because the Doctor Who webcasts, which came out in the late 1990s, early 2000s, something like that. I did 3 webcasts for the BBC of Doctor Who, and I provided all the illustrations, the background illustrations and the foreground illustrations that then James Goss animated, and they went out on the internet. And so kind of in a way I have.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. But also there's been some very nice, what they call now motion comics of my work. You've actually produced one yourself, and that was fantastic to see. It's really exciting to see work being transferred from 2D into 3D or apparent 3D, and I really, really enjoyed that. Chris Thompson did a lovely rendering of a craft that I'd done in 3D and manoeuvred it around. That was a fantastic thing to see what's come out of your head turn into something. It's beautiful.
Part of the magic, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Speaking of coming out of your head, out of Zelda's head, your last question for this part of your interview.
Try and pluck a female at this one.
Well, just pick a good one.
Okay. Oh, good. I was right. Willow Lambden Smith. Hello, Willow. I want to know when he's going to design my John Tracy tattoo for me. Well, this can be arranged, Willow. If at the very next convention, you're on.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first. He's doing a tattoo design. Have you done any tattoos for anyone? Not actually applying them, but designs.
Yes, it's a hobby of mine. I just scribble on people. Yes, actually, I have. I had one of my drawings. There was a Dalek I did on a hoverbout that Colin Young, who's a lovely fan of art, of Doctor Who generally, and a collector of artwork, and he's got some of my artwork. And he had a tattoo made on his shoulder, left or right, I don't know which, of that. And he sent me a photograph of it, and I was more than pleased to see that. And then he he commissioned me to do another one, which was of a Cyberman. That's right. And I very cruelly gave the Cyberman a lot of cross-hatching, so the tattooist inflicted quite a lot of pain on him for that.
You cruel man.
Yeah, my artwork is on. I just think greater love hath no person that they use a bit of their flesh for my artwork.
It's quite incredible, isn't it?
It is astonishing.
I've seen you at conventions, and lots of people come up and say nice things about your work. Me included.
Yes.
Because as we've discussed, I had your artwork on my bedroom wall when I was 7, 8, 9 years old.
So I corrupted you early.
You did. The Daleks versus the Cybermen battle, which was right above my bed.
I couldn't be more thrilled with that. That's marvellous.
Nor can I. It's a lovely thing. But as a creative, I just wonder how it is for you when people come up and say, "Oh, there's this lovely thing you did. I love this so much." Are you able to enjoy their nostalgic joy through their experience?
In complete the opposite of how your dad was for it. I know he couldn't get nostalgia at all. But no, I love it because I was intensely interested in all that stuff when I was young. All the comic strips, all the programs, I loved. I immersed myself in them. And so I know the effect that those comic strips had on me. I mean, if we're talking about artwork, I know the effect they had on me, and I love the fact that it has that effect on other people. And it's the particular joy, because one of the first things I did was Transformers. And although I wasn't a fan of Transformers, of course, all the kids reading it at the time, who were probably between 5 to 12 or something like that, reading the comic, back in the late 1980s, they are, of course, all now, handsome young men with their own families and all the rest of it. And they come up, and sometimes they don't know who they're about to see the work of. And when they leaf through my folders and see the Transformers covers, they kind of go a bit weak at the knees. And that is a fantastic moment because that's exactly what I hoped would happen. Not it's not you don't want the gratification of that per se, but I just wanted to know that stuff had actually burrowed its way into their minds in the same way that all the stuff I appreciated did to me. You know.
There's stuff from old TV21s that you often reference as your favourite things, often Mike Noble.
Yes.
But is there a favourite, a fan favourite? Is there one image or a particular vehicle or an angle or a panel from a comic that people often say, I remember that was my favourite?
Yes, there's a lot of it's to do with Doctor Who, because that's where my most of my work was done. It's usually a Dalek page, and sometimes the first big splash panel I did of Daleks, which is a black Dalek landing on the planet and in his hoverbout. So I was tapping directly into TV21 because that and the Dalek books were where the hoverbouts, which really only exist in the comic strips, come from. And I've recently just redesigned the hoverbouts again for the current run, which I'm doing of Doctor Who magazine. For the Daleks, I redesigned the hoverbout to look like might have been designed by the Imperial Daleks. And I made the stupid error of doing that because it's a hexagon and very polygonal, if that's a word. Which
it is now.
I don't think anyone's going to use it again, if it is. But yeah, that was a big mistake. It was really difficult to draw. But yeah, so that's one of them. Also, but the main one really is The Usual Suspects, which is the Doctor Who lineup. Yeah. And of course, I've done a Usual Suspects lineup for the Anderson world, both heroes and villains.
Yeah, and they're really lovely things. Did you hear that sound?
Well, my hearing's going a bit.
It was very loud. You definitely heard it.
Oh, yes.
That means, Lee, it's time for your quick fire 5. I'm going to give you a quick list of 5 either-ors. You must choose rapidly, and your choice is locked in forever and can never be gone back on. Are you ready?
Yes.
Would you rather draw Oink from Stingray in a Spectrum uniform or Colonel White as a furry seal?
Oh, Colonel White as a furry seal, obviously.
Knew it. Would you rather know all of Lady Penelope's secrets or help Master Spy steal Supercar?
Actually, I'd like to help Master Spy.
Knew it. Yeah, Supercar fans through and through.
Even the studio prop.
Fair.
Okay.
Choose from the opening titles of Captain Scarlet or the closing titles of Fireball XL5.
Oh, that's cruel. Closing titles of Fireball. But because the theme is
the song
so wonderful, and the animation. And one of the great things about that for a kid was almost forgetting week by week that Fireball actually goes around the Earth towards the end. Oh, that was a brilliant idea. What a great thing! And all those views of the planets, the close-ups of the moons, the sudden zoom shots, the crash zooms, fantastic.
There you go. He really loves it. Your doctor needs to give you a prescription.
Oh.
Would you rather that he gave you Space 1999 anti-radiation pills or Fireball XL5 oxygen pills?
Oxygen pills. There can be no doubt about that. I want to float around outside the hull.
And finally, you must now pick a colour from the Dulux paint range and become a Spectrum agent of that colour. Are you Captain Vanilla Scoop or Captain Purple Pout?
There's no Captain Brown in there.
Those are your only choices.
I think vanilla. I'm a fairly vanilla.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Lee Sullivan, that's your quickfire 5. Well done. Very impressive. And you've also, I believe, selected your favourite Anderson character. So before we discuss it, why don't we look at the clip?
Oh, yes.
See who it is.
Yes.
Aircraft approaching from the east, height 2,500 feet. Speed 7.5 thousand miles per hour.
7.5 thousand miles an hour. Have you gone crazy?
London Tower from Thunderbird 1, approaching London Airport, height 2,500 feet. Airspeed 7.5 thousand miles per hour. We'll be touching down in 2 minutes. London Tower, this is International Rescue. Fireflash is in trouble and we are equipped to help you. Request permission to land.
International Rescue? What is this?
That must be the aircraft I just picked up.
This I must see. International Rescue, you are clear to land. Use runway 29.
Will not require runway. Coming in vertically.
Have you gone crazy?
That's
What a great line.
marvellous. We do not require a runway coming in vertically.
Yeah, which you said when you arrived today, I seem to recall.
I say it every time I arrive anywhere.
Absolutely right. It's well known for your vertical.
I've always entered vertically.
I mean, I hate to say it, Scott seems like a very obvious choice, and you don't seem like a very obvious chooser, perhaps. I thought you might go for Steve Zodiac. So why does Scott come in so high on your list? Well, at number one.
I am a tremendous admirer of Steve Zodiac. I yield to none in my admiration for him. But Scott was the one... Thunderbirds hit me at exactly the right time. And I took all the characters very seriously. The annuals came out, I can't remember what the order was, and TV21 had been previewing Thunderbirds before it came around. So I was kind of really clued into Thunderbirds as an experience. Scott has got this wonderful, I mean, for a start, he's got Shane Rimmer's voice, so you really can't get any better than that. And he's such a good actor. And the puppet, it acts so well. You get this real feeling of strength and bravery and calm, a lot of all those things happening at once. And one of the biggest thrills to me in my later life was, this shows you I don't get out much, was arriving at an Anderson convention and I just parked and a car pulled up behind me and someone said, are there any more car park spaces that you can see? And I knew who it was before I turned round. It was Shane Rimmer, and I just thought, that's just made my life, that has, Are there any car parking spaces? Fantastic. And he was a delight to know, and Sheila, his lovely wife. Scott, for me, was a proper hero. And I loved all the rest of the boys. Willow, obviously, I should have chosen John, but there you go. Scott was the guy who had to keep everything in order, and I loved Thunderbird 1 as well. I can't choose between any of them really, but Thunderbird 1 is so exciting, just seeing it land every time, and the mystery of how he got in and out of it, latterly solved by people like Graham Bleethman. But for years a mystery to me. How does he jump? Does he jump out of it? Who knows?
Who knows? Does it matter?
No. And you can make up your own versions of it.
Exactly.
Which clearly I have.
However he gets out, it'll be done heroically.
Heroically and with a stoic look on his face.
Absolutely.
But there's another thing about Scott, is he doesn't mess about. If you happen to be someone just taking photographs of, instantly taking photographs of Thunderbird 1 or anything to do with the Thunderbirds, he will come after you with a machine gun, a machine cannon, actually.
Yes.
And blow you to bits.
Totally reasonable response.
Totally within the international rescue parameters, I think.
Yes, because they're so busy trying to help.
I'm so choked with emotion, I'm going to have a drink now.
Well, speaking of being choked with emotion,
Yes.
obviously, I would be more of a Virgil man.
Oh.
Because
No, I understand.
to me, Scott races there and then says, come on, Virgil, hurry up and do the work.
Yeah.
And Virgil was an artist and a musician.
That's true.
Cocktail maker, an accomplished cocktail drinker, I believe.
Oh, yeah, no, that's right.
And Scott just sort of felt like the loud guy who would tell everybody what to do. However, in the wake of making the documentary, A Life Uncharted, and learning more about Dad's brother Lionel and how Scott was the template, really, we think, for Lionel, I just wondered if that kind of added a certain something for you, knowing that your favourite Anderson character was based on someone who meant so much to the creator of that character.
Well, I think it comes across. I would never have known that, obviously, without. But when you know that, you can see it's pretty obvious that this is he's definitely the fixed point. I know, obviously, Jeff controls it, and Lady Penelope's off to one side. All these, but really, it all revolves around Scott, and he doesn't do much. Obviously, he kills people occasionally if they get take photographs. But I really think that Scott has got a kind of, and of course he's based slightly on Sean Connery as well, so that's another thing, because I was a big Bond fan, still am. So there was lots of appeal to me. I was very worried when I went to see the Thunderbirds movies, though, and they changed him. I think they did in the series, but I didn't quite notice that as much. He had a different head. I felt a little betrayed then.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Original Scott, Series 1 Scott only.
Series 1 Scott.
You've talked about the kind of the personalities of the puppet characters. So much was conveyed by the voice, a lot by the look, obviously, but the performance and so many other elements. So when you come to do something like the Thunderbirds comics in the 2000s for Redan, it's the same issue that we come up against with doing Thunderbirds audio dramas. So much is suddenly missing from the complete picture people are used to. What do you do when drawing a comic for something like Thunderbirds to try to convey all those things? It could be what others have done in the past and what you've drawn and what you do personally, but how do you put the missing elements of Thunderbirds from screen to comic?
You see, and that's a really interesting point and something I've never thought about.
But that's a bit worrying as the person drawing them, Lee.
Because it's a natural instinct to use body language and the kind of expressions that, of course, the puppets have got 2, maybe 3 expressions, depending on which heads they've got on. But I think that for me, the characters are in my head, and I draw them as well as I can to express what they're doing right now. And it doesn't matter if it's Thunderbirds or I'm currently drawing David Tennant. I kind of know what they look like and what they might be doing facially or what their body language is. That's harder with puppets, obviously, because body language isn't really in it. Having said that, and nothing to do with me, but the actual acting of the puppets, the marionation, super marionation, is just fantastic. I was lucky enough to see the Stephen Leriviere's new episodes of Thunderbirds being made, and it reinforced to me how incredibly skilled the puppeteers must have been, and the camera operators and the lighting and all that stuff, because until you see it in action, it's hard to grasp that the character's head is no bigger than my fist, probably slightly smaller, and the camera has to go right in on it. The lighting has to be overwhelmingly bright to get the depth of focus, and the cameras have to move along with the puppets and do all kinds of stuff. It's an extraordinary testament to how good they are, because I sat down with some friends of mine, we're all the same age, we watched Thunderbirds, the first episode, at Christmas one year, just for a laugh, really. And we just sat there and watched the whole thing, and that included my wife, who really hasn't got any time for this kind of stuff at all. Not even, I mean, she's slightly nostalgic about these things, but like that much. But we actually sat and watched the whole thing. And if you didn't have good acting in it, obviously the voices, but the actual puppets themselves work really well, and there's so much goes on. So when you come back to drawing that stuff, you kind of only have to think of them as being humans, really. In the past, Frank Bellamy was a great Thunderbirds artist, and I used to worry about it a little bit, because he would draw them pointing, like Scott would kind of point, and his hands would be in extremely exaggerated positions. I've tried to do that, and it looks like rubbish. But Frank was a great artist and could get away with it, and that expressiveness was something that worried me as a kid, because I just thought they don't look like they're doing Thunderbirdsy kind of movements. Now, of course, I look at it and think these are great works of art.
Yeah.
I was talking rubbish from my ignorant point of view.
But it's each artist has their own way of conveying those elements to make it work on the page.
Oh yes, everybody who's attempted it. The one that amuses me a lot is Ron Turner. Ron Turner's a fantastic artist, very stylised, did the last half of the Dalek stories in TV21. He also drew Thunderbirds occasionally. And he made every human he ever drew look a bit like a Thunderbirds puppet. In their proportions, their heads were always slightly too big for their bodies. Most artists deliberately draw heads smaller than they really are because it just looks more, I don't know, sexy or something. But so there's these slightly infantile characters in Ron's work. He was a genius. I'm saying this. I'm not fit to walk into the same room as him, especially not now he's dead. But he was a fantastic artist. But that was something that I always tried to avoid. Is I wanted to make them look as real as possible, but not unlike their likenesses. And it's a bit of a struggle where you try and get a happy medium. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure lots of renowned readers from the 2000s and many other iterations of your stuff will be very satisfied, more than satisfied with your representation.
Hope so.
Because they're always lovely. Now, I know how much you enjoyed sniffing Zelda last week.
Yeah.
And it is
big thrill.
Now time, hopefully for the last time on this new version of the podcast, where we have to delve into Zelda's mind, and fingers crossed my other container, which I've ordered, Richard, will be here next week. So Lee, would you like to delve back into Zelda's mind for our viewer-listener questions?
Pick her brains for another question.
Yep, she's thrilled about that.
Jonathan Westall writes, this is like being on Points of View. How wonderful. After reading the Fireball XL5 comic you did for the 60th anniversary comic anthology, will there be another crossover comic like that in the future? Well,
I can currently answer that, which is no.
Okay.
Because that was
Is that it?
It was a unique one where we managed to find a way to do it.
Yes.
We're not currently able to do those type of things.
We got away with it, viewers.
But it was fun.
It was wonderful.
It was really fun.
I can't. This is the only time I've ever written a script for anything, and again, I have to thank you for allowing me to do that. But it was the most fun because suddenly it's a bit like finding all these toys in the toy box. I can do all kinds of stuff with this. And it was really hard to pare it back. I think I could have done about 56 pages, not just the 16 or whatever we managed in the finish. No, sadly, we can't do that in the future.
For now?
For now, until we've done some other things.
Absolutely.
Which we might do.
There will be some other things, probably. But yes, I've got somewhere on my phone, I've got a great picture of Lee when he was doing the initial drawing for the Fireball crossover. Oh, yeah. And he had his Fireball toy and his Thunderbird 3 toy meshed together. He's like, I'm going to do this in the panel. And he actually did. So it was a really lovely thing. Next question from the mind of Zelda, please.
It's particularly lovely being backlit by the lights here. It looks like you're really going to someone's body. Emma Nichols. Hello, Emma. What is the longest comic strip you ever did? It seemed to go on forever. And has it broken any records? Well, actually, I did take part in something I think was called the longest comic strip in the world.
You?
Yes.
How convenient for this question.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? It's almost as if they knew. I'm not entirely sure what it really... I saw it a couple of weeks ago, actually. Somebody had a copy. I don't own a copy myself, though, because that's the way things are. But yeah, loads and loads of artists were all asked to do 1 or 2 panels for this extremely long comic strip, and I did that. So it probably did break a record at the time. I think it's probably been superseded since. But yes, I have, and yes, it did.
Amazing, very impressive.
It was
record-breaking Lee Sullivan.
Record-breaking, yes. I've smashed a few in my time, I can tell you. Roger Morgan, does Lee worry that AI could replace him as AI has already been used for book covers, album sleeves and artwork? As an artist, I am very worried. So you should be, Roger. We're all doomed. No. Yes and no, because it's a bit like Photoshop. Photoshop came in. It did put a lot of traditional painting artists out of cover work. There's no doubt about that. So you do have to watch out for this stuff. I got onto Photoshop, which is now seems like old hat, but it was the first part of working digitally. I now work almost entirely digitally, using a thing called Manga Studio, which is now called Clip studio art or something like that. And that, so I ink using that. I use my iPad for doing roughs. But the thing is, AI is a different kettle of fish because it means that you can construct things. It's got great advantages for some people, that you can magic together something very fast to show what you might, a concept art particularly. It's probably very, very good for that. Yeah. I personally think it'll be a while before comic strips are particularly affected that way. It's still drawing 3 hands where there should be 2, or 25 fingers on a hand, because it finds it hard to determine what's unique to a particular character. That is a matter of time before that gets sorted out. But the storytelling is very, very much more complicated. And I think that will be the kind of solutions I have to come up with on a regular basis for comic strips are ones that I think only humans can come up with properly at the moment. I'm not saying they can't do it, but there they are. So yes, we should be worried about it, but you should also think, okay, there's a tool I can use.
Yeah.
But also, it depends on the people you're working for. I know that that Big Finish have recently addressed this issue, and they now have a clause where they don't want to anyone to use AI unless it's passed,
for a very specific reason.
A very specific reason, and I think that's a good thing. It was because pushback from fans, they didn't like it. So
Understandably,
it's an interesting subject.
it is. But it's at some point someone's going to be able to type in, do this panel in the style of Lee Sullivan, and
Good luck to him. I'll be dead by then.
no.
Well, I'm planning on retiring anyway. So.
Well, not yet, hopefully.
Okay. Anthony Zatner again. Your Anderson heroes and villains, rogues, galleries are a thing of beauty.
They are indeed.
Oh, how kind, how kind. Are there plans for any more? Well, what do you think, Jamie?
We talked about doing these, didn't we? Because we wanted to do a sort of have a whole collection of characters all in your style. But you've been too busy doing
I know.
Dr. Bloomin' Who.
And Doctor Who came along and made that all very difficult. I think what we should do is make bookmarks out of them, and so you can have just the one.
Character bookmarks. And the final question from the mind of Zelda, before we never see her again. Bye, Zelda.
Alex Pass. Or it could be Pass, I suppose.
Pass. It's Big Al, isn't it? It's Big Al. Hello, Big Al.
Oh, Big Al. Hello, Big Al. He's done some truly epic work for Anderson and Doctor Who. Is there another show or franchise that he'd love to take a crack at? No.
Really?
I know, that's terrible, isn't it?
Do you ever do Star Trek, Lee?
I did try to do Star Trek once. I did a sample page for, I think it was for DC Comics. They were looking around for people and I was looking around for work. And I did what turned out to be quite a nice sample page, and it was ignored. But to counter that, I got the better part of the deal because I worked for William Shatner on William Shatner's Tech World. So for 2 years I worked for Captain Kirk, and I got to meet him. I went over to Toronto with the writer Evan Skolnick, who we were working on the project at the time. And my favourite moment was he rang me up while I was out. And so I came home to find an answering machine message which said, "Lee, I missed you. I'm calling you from New York. This is Bill Shatner. I'd love to talk to you about your work." And so he said, "I'll call you back." Okay, so for 2 weeks I stayed by the telephone, ignoring toilet calls, ignoring food. Eventually we ran out of groceries, so I went to the shops again, and I came back and there was another answer machine message. "Lee, I missed you again." And anyway, eventually he half-heartedly said, we're filming Tech War in Toronto, so if you'd like to, if you're passing, drop by and we'll sync a few. Well, you don't have to tell me twice. So as I'm never passing there, we hastily arranged a tour of comic books in shops in America, and we went to. Toronto, and we saw some of it being made and Bill directing, and we got to hang around with him for a couple of days and that. So, although I haven't drawn Star Trek, the trouble is with drawing Star Trek is there is so much you'd have to know. You'd have to reference more than I know, and that's a reasonable amount. But you know, you soon find out that everybody knows more about this stuff than I do. I remember going to a Doctor Who convention, a Star Trek convention actually, for the first time, and thinking, I know all about Star Trek. And I had a conversation with someone in the turbo lift of this hotel, and realised I knew nothing about it. I didn't know all the registrations of the ships.
Oh.
I knew the Enterprise. Surely that's enough, you know. But no. And I realised then that you have to be careful with franchises. You have to know as much as the most dedicated fan knows. And I really felt that doing the Fireball thing, because I thought I've got to really be careful what I do here, make sure. And this is why I didn't send, but you passed it around to get experts to check on this stuff, and it didn't contradict things too badly. But there is a huge weight of expectation if you're doing that sort of stuff. And actually, I'm kind of glad I didn't do it in the finish. But
Nice to get the invite from Bill Shatner, though. Well, to try and make you feel better then,
yes.
Is there an Anderson property in particular that you haven't yet really tackled? I know with the Fireball one you tackled a few, but is there one that you haven't tackled to date but you'd really love to? I'm guessing Space 1999 is not on the list.
I don't know how you get that impression.
Because the amount you moaned when you did the jigsaw puzzle.
You see, now you give it all away.
But they all know that already.
No. Space 1999 was too late for me. I had passed beyond the event horizon as far as Space 1999. UFO, on the other hand, I was absolutely. I'd love to do a comic strip in the style of Brian Lewis, who did the wonderful Supercar book, and also did one or two UFOs for Countdown. Because I just love his style. I wish I could draw like him. If there's anyone I could really, I wish I had his talent. And maybe UFO, because I could get to draw the girls. All those lovely wigs, not just the girls, but everybody else in the thing wears a wig. That's a good thing. It'd be a challenge to make them look like wigs and hair at the same time, which they obviously didn't manage on the show. But the other thing would be to do a really nice version of Stingray or Supercar, but all of them really.
So when I said one show,
when you said one show,
you ignored that.
Is there a show you'd like me to say?
Well, no. Stingray is fine. You've done a few other bits and pieces, including some panels for First Action Bureau.
Oh yes, yeah.
For us, as well as the Heroes and Villains thing, and all of your Anderson work seems to tie together beautifully, whether it's based on a 1962 show or whether it's based on a 2020 idea. There's a way in which you've been able to deliver a shared DNA between those things. How do you do that? How do you go about connecting things up? What are you drawing upon when drawing upon these ideas?
That's a really interesting question. This is why I like interviews, because you never know what you're going to say next. And I have no idea what I'm going to say next now.
Excellent.
But here it comes. I think the point is it all goes through the same processor. So it's all the thing that's up here. I see them in a certain way, and I have a very limited range of drawing techniques, although I can copy other people's work when I have to, but I don't know what my style is. I really don't. People can say to me, "Oh yeah, that looks like a piece of your work," and I have no idea why it looks like that. What it is that really refers to. You can't see it with your own eyes, but I think that as you think through what you're doing, I try and make them all look as if they're humans, which I suppose is the least of my job, I suppose. I should try and make them look like humans. But it was really interesting doing those Heroes and Villains because it mixed very different styles. I mean, Master Spy is the most grotesque human being ever, apart from Mike Mercury. Mike is this great hero and just looks, you wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley because he's just so strange looking. But to actually put those next to the more heroic types, sculpting-wise, and then actually with people like Ed Bishop and Martin Landau and Brian Blessed, that was kind of a bit of a struggle. I had to slim down Master Spy by about 35 stone, and he still looked huge. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think it just all goes through the same process: same brain, same eyes, same hands. Really,
that's just got all that stuff to draw on, and therefore, it's lovely. It's amazing that you've got such a fantastic Anderson repository up there.
A lot of people have said that to me, and I still am amused.
It explains the way you're sitting. Now, I don't think there's anything else that we need to do in this chat, is there?
Jamie, remember the end, the game at the end?
I don't think we need to do that.
Do we? Mute or recruit?
I do.
But we spoke about it. You said you'd do it.
Lee Sullivan, last week, Ellie, our lovely guest.
She was magnificent.
She was magnificent. And
I still feel her presence now.
Me too, actually, yeah. But maybe that's the cards. She drew from a deck of cards very specially created by producer Richard James.
Oh, lovingly, I would imagine.
For a game he likes to call Cute, Mute or Recruit.
Yes.
Now, Ellie drew 3 characters from the deck at random, and you must now choose which of these you're going to do those things to.
Okay. Are you going to reveal them to me now?
I am. But the setup is essentially that you're building your own international rescue type organisation. Okay. You get 3 new followers on Twitter because you're there all the time, and you get to pick one of these to recruit, one to mute on social media, and one that you're like, oh, they're sort of cute. It doesn't have to be sinister. It could just be...
Doesn't have to be.
No.
Can it be sinister?
So, Lee Sullivan, are you ready with your characters?
I am ready and waiting, Jamie.
They are...
Present them to me now.
Captain Scarlet.
Oh.
Zelda from Terrorhawks. And Professor Bergman.
Oh.
Moonbase Alpha.
Okay.
So you've got a cute, a mute, and a recruit here.
You see, none of those are Gabrielle Drake, are they?
Not quite, no. I would say Zelda is the anti-Gabrielle Drake.
Yes. Well, now, this is so hard. Okay, so cute, I think it has to be Captain Scarlet.
Okay.
Because he's very pretty. And he reminds me of Roger Moore. Roger Moore sort of look. I know Roger Moore thought he was based on, Captain Scarlet was based on him, possibly erroneously. Okay, cute.
So you've got to mute one of these and recruit one of these.
Well, yeah.
Are you going to go for somebody dangerous and evil, or somebody who might help you think out of any situation?
I would go for the Professor.
You're going to recruit him or mute him?
I'm going to recruit him.
So you have recruited Professor Bergman to your secret organisation. Very good.
Good. Well, he'll disappear after a while anyway.
But exactly, just halfway through he'll vanish. Now, you must pick 3, for some reason, you must pick 3 cards for our next guest. So without revealing them, would you please pick 3 cards at random, keeping them face down? Okay. And we will allow next week's person to choose. Yeah, the tension's building here. Very good. So we have our stack of 3 for next time.
For this game that will go on forever. It certainly seems like it's going on forever, doesn't it?
It's an interesting format point. Anyway, Lee, I've so enjoyed our chat as always, and our lovely lunch we had as well. 1.5 lunches.
Yes.
Well, that's for another time. Just as a reminder for those that want to find you online, or even at events, if you're coming to local kind of conventions or anything that you've got booked, where can people meet you in person and or online?
I think I'm going to be, I haven't been asked yet, but it was talked about. I think I'm going to be at LFCC, London Film and Comic Con in the winter. Mm-hmm. I'm going to miss, I missed, or I'm going to miss the summer one. Yeah. That's my only gig that I think I have lined up. And online, I'm on my website, which is leesullivanart.co.uk, and I'm also on Facebook as Lee Sullivan and Lee Sullivan Art. I prefer the Lee Sullivan one where I'm sitting there with my fluffy dog, because that's the one I look at. I ignore everything else, so don't bother.
So don't bother anywhere else. Lee, thank you very much. We've had a lovely chat. It's great to have you, and see you in another 250 pods.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it immensely.
Cheers.